also go the way of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. More reactions continue to trail this development. I'd like to take some headlines this morning. The Vanguard newspaper is talking about the reaction of the presidency. Obasanjo tenure represented dark days of democracy. The presidency is maintaining the former president's record is no match for Buhari's developmental achievements. The Punch is reporting anti-Buhari letter. Presidency lambasts Obasanjo, says ex-president government corrupt. And if you read Garba Shew's response, it's a full dose of everything that went wrong under the Obasanjo administration. Obasanjo sold $3.2 billion ASCON, other assets for peanuts, removed governors, the former president's administration. Ex-president deceived Southeast with second Niger bridge. Buhari completed it. OBJ a hypocrite, plotting third term interim government through OB. And there's a long list of all of this if you check out the headlines this morning. Now we're looking at what appears to be contrary reaction to this report. The PDP and APC are angry. They do not seem to buy the position of the former president, and exactly what we're talking about this morning. I have the privilege of joining me on the show this morning. I have Dr. Jide Johnson, who is the chief lecturer at the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Good morning and happy New Year, Dr. Johnson.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Nifemi, and good morning to our viewers all over the world.
Indeed. We also have joining us Kazeem Afegwa, who's former information commissioner in Edo State. Mr. Afegwa joins us virtually. Good morning and thank you for finding time to join us, Mr. Afegwa.
And thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. All right, so let's begin. Dr. Johnson, very few past leaders in Nigeria have consistently, publicly invested themselves in who becomes president. In pre-election years like the former president Obasanjo, he's had something to say since he left office in 1979. Shehu Shagari, the structural adjustment program under General Ibrahim Babangida, he did not support. He at some point mentioned that Chief Abiola wasn't the Messiah that many people thought. And then when he also, some would say that he got some credence internationally by transiting power to a democratically elected government. And we saw him come out from prison after the aberration and become. The question is whether or not he has paid his dues as an elder statesman and past president. But it seems opinions remain sharply divided as to whether he is a status of standard when it comes to leadership in Nigeria that stands out amongst the rest.
There's no doubt that Obasanjo is one of the standard leaders we have in Nigeria. You can't discountenance the fact. It's on record that everyone aspiring for the office of the president has visited him. If he's of no relevance, why are you visiting him? We need to establish that. There's no doubt that he's also a controversial figure in the sense that he's the former head of state and president that has consistently and openly expressed his opinion with respect to the state of the nation. And in democracy, to accept or to reject that opinion, but by virtue of standing and by virtue of our society, in the sense that we expect elders to be neutral and not to be openly supporting anybody. But if Obasanjo does not speak, and if he does not write, and if he does not express opinion openly, he's not living true to his character
that
of the person that we know him to be in person of Olusegun Obasanjo. That's his person, that's his character, that's his personality, whether you like it or not. It is too late for a 40-year-old man. We are not even talking about a 40-year-old man. This is what he did when he was 40, when he was 50, when he was 60, when he was 70. Now he's in his 80s. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that Obasanjo has taken that particular standpoint.
Mr. Afegwa, you have read the reaction coming from APC and PDP. The APC yesterday said Obasanjo's support is worthless and has no political relevance. So some would say the reason for this backlash is because he hasn't supported their candidates. Do you agree?
Well, thank you very much. I think the point has been made by the guy who just finished speaking. In a democracy, everyone is entitled to his opinion. No matter how popular, you just have to give them that inalienable rights, which is guaranteed by the Constitution of the country. But looking at the politics of age, just like the other man said, as a father figure, an elder statesman who has been so privileged in this country to govern twice, one expects that he will play the father figure role, which will make him to see the country where that your choice might not necessarily become the president. And so you have to make sure that whoever becomes, they need that your moral support, they need that your father figure backing and all of that to move the country forward. I think leaders like Obasanjo, IBB, Absalami, Tiwa Danjuma, Yakubu Gowon, they should be a reservoir of knowledge for all candidates who are vying for position. But typical of Obasanjo, he has come out, he has not betrayed anyone with his letter. If you know him to be a letter writer, a book was just recently launched in recognition of that. So he has come out to state his position and endorsing a candidate. I don't think the APC should have said his endorsement is worthless. That word worthless for me was worrisome. I think we have to be strategic communicators, no matter how it is. Even if Obasanjo does not control the votes in his polling unit, in his ward or his local government, even if he lost all of these positions before, in fact that he's endorsing someone, there are quite a number of persons who are also his admirers, no matter how controversial he has become over the years. So I would have thought that there will be some level of restraint in terms of using some kind of language to describe him and all that. Even though the man doesn't care anyway, he's best as a comedian at times when he speaks. You can take him serious, at times you can take him unserious. But the long and short of it is that even in that letter, he spoke some glaring truth. He spoke about the need to move the country forward, about the candidates also. But just like him, he doesn't want to stay on, he doesn't want to be undecided. Let me put it that way. So he decided to endorse Peter Obi. So it is a clarion call. When Obasanjo is endorsing Peter Obi, it's a clarion call for all the candidates, particularly Tinubu candidature, and his supporters, followers, associates, to double the game. They have to double the energy. They have to wake up and work more so that by the time he defeats Peter Obi and Atiku, there won't be blue mother or cry of blue mother, kind of. So it's a welcome development.
I hear you, Mr. Afegbo. My guest in the studio is Dr. Johnson, so you can properly,
Dr. Johnson.
Properly address him subsequently.
Dr. Johnson.
Let us talk about the worth and the value of an Obasanjo endorsement. He's been endorsing people since 2007. He endorsed the Yaradua. Then in 2015, he decided to also write another letter of this nature against the incumbent president. And at that time, he had shown some support to President Buhari, and he won as well. In 2019, he supported the Atiku presidency against the incumbent president. So if you look at his track record, vis-a-vis what the APC is saying, that the president doesn't possess any political goodwill or leverage anywhere in Nigeria, is it about his endorsement that made those people win?
Now, from strategic...
Just a minute, Mr. Afegbo. I'm going to come to you shortly, yes.
Just like Mr. Kazim Afegbo spoke earlier, you have to be strategic about your communication. And some of the things I've seen with the way in which you have managed candidates from communication point of view is combative style. There are issues that are raised in the letter. First and foremost, look who are the targets of the letter. There are 3 targets. 1, all Nigerians, especially Nigerian youths. 2, global Nigerian friends. And 3, development partners. These are critical areas where Obasanjo has influence. These are critical areas. There's no doubt that if you want to talk about the Nigerian that has international status, the first person you made mention of is Olusegun Obasanjo. Politically, when he talks about intellectual community, you talk about Professor Wole Soyinka Now, if Professor Oshonika should endorse any candidate and say it does not have any electoral value, beyond the electoral value within the Nigerian political space, what about the electoral value within the international community? What about the acceptability and the willingness of people in that community to relate and work with that candidate? So when you look at the letter and what the letter addressed, if I were to be in the campaign organization of any of the candidates, what I would have done is to look at the saliency of the letter, the issues he highlighted, the problems, the qualities, the parameters he raised before endorsing his candidate. And I said that our candidate is best equipped when it comes to dealing with insecurity, when it comes to youth empowerment, youth employment. These are the salient issues that our candidate is better, other than be attacking his personality or questioning whether he has political value or no political value. There are issues in the letter which you could use to your own advantage in promoting your candidate and saying that your candidate is better equipped than that. As far as Obasanjo is concerned, you might think, and like Kazim said earlier, there are a lot of admirers of Obasanjo. For example, I don't like his personality, but I love his policy. You can't controvert the policies of Obasanjo's administration in opening up the economy of Nigeria. You can make mention of people that are making headway economically in Nigeria. Prior to 1999, where was Dangote? I've just given you one example from economic point of view.
Mr. Afegba, what do you think about the weight of the former president in the past 4 elections? Did it significantly determine how the elections went?
I think we don't need to detain ourselves with Obasanjo's letter. Just like I said earlier, you need to be more focused in these campaigns, because the long and short of any electoral contest is the victory of the candidate, while others will lick their wounds. In this election, I am yet to be convinced or to see, the parameters you use to measure that Tinubu will not become victorious. Whether there are conspiracies, whether there are subplots, whether there are orchestration, APC and Tinubu have a better chance to win this election. Even the candidate that Obasanjo had endorsed, his spread across the country is still suspect. That I can say, as someone who travels across the states. Only yesterday, I'm here in London holidaying, and I had a meeting with a cross-section of Nigerians, who are my friends, and we're discussing this letter. And they said, in fact, the way some of them responded, the old man should go and rest. Did he not conduct a woeful election in 2007 that brought in Yaradua, such that even Yaradua himself, had to tell Nigerians that in Germany, that the election that brought him to power was heavily flawed? So what is Obasanjo talking about? People were quite angry. Others said, yes, if he doesn't get his acts going in any candidate, he will want to support another person. That even the Yaradua he installed, he ended up fighting Yaradua before Yaradua died on May 9, 2010. So others said, no, we just like him because at least he's an old man who is supporting the youth now. You see, Obasanjo is a character that wants to play to the gallery. And for me, as a voter, I'm not going to detain myself thinking about Obasanjo's letter, whether he has written or he has spoken. I'm going to look at how I can deliver my polling unit, my word, to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I want to see how much influence that letter will have on my people. That is the kind of thing that should agitate the minds of those who are on the field campaigning. Because to write a letter is just for you to sit down in your cocoon, 1 hour you turn out a letter. But to get votes, you need to go out and reach out to the voters across all the geopolitical zones. We have 176,000 plus polling units across the country. So a Tinubu that is spread across the country has better chance and opportunity to defeat a Peter Obi, whether you like it or not, than any other one, any other person. So the Tinubu camp and the APC should devote less attention to that and move forward, carry out his campaigns, make sure they're able to plug all the loopholes, checkmate other candidates who are trying to manipulate the process through beavers and what have you. And in the final analysis, when February 25th comes on stream, you will see people coming out to vote. We are not expecting that Peter Obi will not get some votes, but I'm saying that in the sum total of what makes the president scoring 25% into third of the states of the federation and majority votes, Tinubu is in pole position to get that.
I'll return to you, Mr. Afegbo. We'll talk about the issues you raised earlier, Dr. Johnson. But perhaps what has angered the presidency would be the position of the former president saying that the Buhari administration has
devoting a paragraph in the letter
Nigerians
to the past 7 years.
Yes, the frying pan to fire. And they have also made reference to certain issues, which Mr. Afegbo also talked about. Yaradua himself acknowledged that the election that brought him to power was flawed, and he started the process of revamping the Electoral Act. But that's what has happened during the past 7 years. And Mr. President seemed to have been resolute as to leaving a legacy of improved electoral process. And there's been a body language. Even when, people have won election outside his party, he's been the first to congratulate them. And we've also seen an electoral act passed. The presidency also made reference to the do or die comments that he mentioned during that election, and how he invested and how he allegedly sponsored the impeachment of some governors, the destabilization of houses of assembly in Rivers, Ekiti, Oyo, and places like that. I heard what you said about the economic policies of the former president, but when you look at the content of the presidency's letter as to the improvement in the electoral process, would you say that Obasanjo still ranks high as to what has happened in the past 7 years?
Don't forget that we started our democratic experience, this Fourth Republic, in 1999. And then you can't compare the growth and the strides we have made before the passage of 2022 Electoral Act. For 11 years, we were using the Electoral Act of 2011. Nothing was done to that effect. And in actual sense, in 2019, the president refused to sign the Electoral Act that was passed by the National Assembly with all pressure, and the one that was passed in 2022, which was a more progressive Electoral Act that involved a lot of stakeholders. There was a lot of pressure by stakeholders before it was assented to. We all knew the politics that went into the assent to that electoral bill becoming an act. And so if you look at it, the trajectory of Obasanjo left presidency 16 years ago, and he devoted a paragraph, except you want to play to the gallery. And a lot of Nigerians love deceiving themselves. I don't belong to any political party. I have no political affiliations with respect to that. But what I keep talking about is that the focus of us now shouldn't be on parties, shouldn't be on personalities. In 1999, the focus was on personality. They went to prison to bring out Obasanjo. In 2015, they went back to bring Buhari. That's personality. And then parties. But policies knew no face. Policies does not look at you whether you vote, because there's no difference. That's the reality, except you want to deceive yourself. There's no difference between PDP and APC. Some of the characters in all of these parties have crisscrossed various parties to form whatever they belong to now. We have made gains electorally when it comes to the electoral, because there were a lot of critical stakeholders that were involved. And some of the challenges we have is that we limit everything to the presidency. We focus on the presidency. If not for critical stakeholders, the Electoral Act we are talking about wouldn't be. Even the Electoral Act was sent back to the National Assembly that the president said, I'm not assenting to some certain section in the Electoral that I've only assented, and then it was not reviewed by the National Assembly. So no doubt, from an electoral point of view, this administration has made serious gains with respect to how we conduct our elections, with respect to how the democratic process has evolved and has developed over time. You can't compare that with 2007, which is 16 years ago. And for them to be taking us back and for us to be looking forward. What are the issues you raised? You have moved. Is the economy right? What's the exchange rate? If you are looking at the electoral, what's the exchange rate of Naira to $1 in 2007? What's the exchange rate of a Naira to $1 now? So if you begin to look at it from political angle, we have made strides. From economic angle, have we made strides? So what the president should have focused on is to highlight, and I have said it, this combative style that People handling the presidency and managing candidates are not strategic in their communication approach. Is the combative style. Is the combative of throwing big bats and stone and the rest of it. All you need to do, if I were to be in the position of the spokesperson, is to highlight what we have done. We have done this, we have done this, we have done this, we have done this, we have done this. We might have not gotten to where we are going, but we have laid a solid foundation that the incoming administration will build on, other than for Garba Shehu to be taking us back to 2007. And they are not strategic about
but I think Garba Shehu did a concussion of both. You know, while he was talking about what the presidency has done, he also took the former president to the cleaners.
And don't forget that Garba Shehu himself was in PDP then.
Indeed.
He was in PDP then.
Almost every Nigerian politician has been both sides, except for a very few.
He was in PDP then, and he was working with the presidential candidate of the PDP. So,
Mr. Febua, another angle to consider this letter from is the fact that the former president was addressing Nigerians, especially young Nigerians, and he's called it a challenge for Nigerian youth to rise, saying that the future is in their hands. They have the numbers. It's time to get up, stand up, and make their numbers count. From your observation in the preceding year, how much involvement how much mark do you see those young Nigerians make in this forthcoming election?
Well, I want to believe that the youths are gradually getting involved than before. Don't forget that I ran a political party called the National Democratic Party that was predominantly championing the cause of the younger generation of Nigeria as a conscious and deliberate evolutionary process that can midwife a transfer of powers from the older generation to the younger ones. But when we're, on the field, championing all of this, it's the same youths that will come to tell us, ask us names. Who are the big men in your party? So, by the time you mention them, they say, no, all these ones are not big men. We don't want those big names. And when you try to convince them that somebody like you can be a big man, can add to the value of such. And don't forget, all the candidates have the youth population. So those who are supporting APC and who are supporting Tinubu, who has empowered youths, maximally across the country that I know, they will all be competing for attention in the elections. There is a youth following with Peter Obi. There's a youth following for Tinubu. And there are some people who are also following Atiku Abubakar. So whether you like it or not...
Mr. Febua, the perception has been that the majority of the youth is for a particular candidate.
No, that's a wrong perception. How do you measure that? All the rallies have seen Peter Obi conduct. None of them.
Dominic has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Femi. Good morning to Dr. In the house.
Johnson, yeah, and Mr. Febua.
Femi, I love your guest in the house. It's our brother, it's our friend. Why do I love him? He is not a politician. When you bring a politician for this kind of matter, of course, you know their character. If Obasanjo has supported or endorsed APC presidential candidates, we have praise from that camp. If Obasanjo has supported PDP, we will have praise from that camp. Now it's in Labour. They have praise. I don't put criticizing. But there's somebody we miss here, like Dr. Jude said. The way the presidency answered to Nigerians. We miss, I don't know whether the Minister of Information is in this party, Dr. Lai Mohammed. Last 4 years, Obasanjo wrote this letter. But if you see how Lai Mohammed answered him, you see a matured answer and a way you should address a statement and address the point he makes. But what I'm seeing today is, fighting dogs from presidency, lack of communication. The person that's going to answer today, if there's anything like that from APC, is Lai Mohammed. That means that there is someone there, but I don't know what happened. But what I'm trying to say to Dr. Judah Nigerians, why are we measuring in minor? The question we should ask ourselves today, when a man starts a business, they want to move from good to better to best. If Obasanjo has come in 1999, we see some stripe of good governance, of bad governance. Where are we today? Everything we started in 1990 economic-wise has gone to zero. Dollar today is about 800 naira. Fuel is not today. I bought fuel just this morning, 270 naira. So where do we measure economic side, like Obasanjo said? We have moved from good economy to bad economy. So a stupid man. He has not measured a electoral problem here. Electoral election have moved from what it used to be in some days to a better place today. That is good. Everyone understand that. Obasanjo never mentioned it. He knew that. But look at the economy. Look at the actors in the field. We will say that if you look at these three actors, this is the person I think that have a better view. That was his thinking. It's one vote. But the way to attack him personally and leave the social on the matter, give me headache.
I hear you, Reverend.
Today, we have moved from bad.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your contribution. Mr. Fegwa, just before we go on the break, I'd like you to react very quickly to what the Reverend was talking about. His focus is on that part of the current leadership has given their best, but the best is not enough.
I want to pick holes in Dominic's position or assertion that politicians, that is their character. Meanwhile, Peter Obi that Obasanjo is endorsing is also a politician. So what are we talking about? You see, people must get involved. When you keep condemning politicians, and they keep producing leaders, or leadership, or political parties are producing leadership, then you continue to have the same problem. When the good men are out, they are not getting involved. Then the bad man takes over. So please, tell him that he should get involved in politics. And talking about statistics, I am one of those strong critics of the APC-led government under Buhari. But I must say that it is wrong for you to use your prognosis in 1999 to 2007 to measure the growth of the country up to this time. Because even Obasanjo in 1999 inherited $80 naira per dollar economy from Absalami Abubakar. He took it up to 162 before he left government. So it is not a thing that, oh, he had a magic wand, he had an answer to it. 8 years. He couldn't leverage on that or even reduce it from 80 naira downwards. He took it upwards. Then he masterminded elections that were heavily flawed. That again takes away the shine from whatever achievement you think he has done. In the energy sector, he expended $16 billion, so we had, and we couldn't get any improvement. So I think we need to be reminded of some of these historical antecedents so that we don't get lost because someone has just written a letter because his stature is a former president. No, we need to also interrogate him. You have forgotten that during Obasanjo, state governors were being impeached in very ridiculous circumstances. Some were being, what do you call it, emergency governance or emergency rule applied in some cases. Just because if he doesn't like your face, he will come heavily against you. Don't forget that even the Tinubu of the APC was in Lagos as governor, and Obasanjo ensured that their statutory allocations guaranteed under the Constitution of Nigeria were withheld for several years. But for a Tinubu who took the case up to Supreme Court level, that state was castrated, if not because he had opportunity to grow the internally generated revenue to a very remarkable extent. He will have been helpless. So why will a president who does not have a knack for due process will now be the moral compass to begin to interrogate us or to give us advice? I may appreciate the fact that he has a right to his opinion, but his opinion cannot be the standard or the moral gauge of the pulse of the nation. That's my point.
Mr. Fegba, please hold that thought. I'm going to take one more call and we'll go on a short break and return with more analysis on this issue. Mr. George has called in from Ikeja. Good morning.
Good morning, Nifemi, and good morning to Dr. Johnson and Mr. Fegwa.
Thank you, sir.
Nifemi, wherever there is an action, there is always a reaction. Former President Obasanjo has cultivated the habit of heating up the politics whenever elections are coming up. If you throw up a dispute, you must expect some reaction because some characters are concerned and anybody wants to naturally defend himself against any attack. He is not the only former president we have had in this country. Why is it that General Gowon, Salami, and Babangida Honore, they have not come out and said we are adopting one particular candidate when elections are coming. When you do that, then you are calling for reaction. So the question of saying it should be allowed to remain what it is. No, when you stir up a controversy, then you have to wait for some reactions. Some of us are aware, Nipeni, that some of these generals who are who lost oil slots and who are stealing our crude oil in the high sea have taken it to somewhere in United States for a meeting to assure them that we allow them to get away with what they have been doing. That is why you see that they are coming outside to come and endorse him, because they see him as a pliable one that they can run over. They can't do that to Tinubu.
I'm not sure we can confirm that allegation. So
I'm telling you what
I'm just going to exempt TVC from that position of yours, Mr. Judge.
Secondly, you made a statement that the majority of the Nigerian youths are supporting Peter Obi. I wonder what statistics you have before you.
No, I didn't mention Peter Obi. I said the perception is that majority of the youth are supporting a particular candidate. So you have mentioned a name now.
It is Peter Obi. Many of your contemporaries in the station have mentioned it. I watch TVC regularly. So, but the issue is on what statistics do they have that they are using?
It's all right, Mr. George. It's a good place to find out what our guests think, how the major candidates fare along these 4 attributes. The phone lines are open. Use the hashtag ThisMorningTVC to contribute online. Stay with us.
Monkeypox is caused by a virus of same name that is closely related to now eradicated smallpox. The likely symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, rash, swollen lymph nodes, among others. How does the monkeypox virus get spread? You can get the virus through close contact with an infected person and also through physical contact with an infected animal. To get monkeypox treatment, you need to see a physician. Here are the steps to protect yourself from monkeypox virus. Step 1. Avoid close contact with suspected or confirmed monkeypox cases. Step 2. Avoid physical touch with animals who could be infected. Step 3. Frequently clean and disinfect environments that could have been contaminated. We all need to join hands together to protect ourselves from this virus. This campaign is brought to you by TVC Communication.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Thank you for staying with us. We're analyzing reactions trailing former President Olusegun Obasanjo's letter endorsing the Labour Party presidential candidate. Kazim Afegwa, former Information Commissioner at Edo State, joins us live from London. Dr. Jide Johnson is a chief lecturer with the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying the course on the program. Hassan has called in now from Lekki. Let's hear from him. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, your guests, good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
My advice to our former president, with due respect, President Olusegun Obasanjo, please, he should take a dignifying silence from the political scene. It's a statement. He should not be seen supporting anybody. He should not be seen supporting anybody at this time of the day and at this crucial time when election is approaching. we knew him as a president. He came, he did his own part as a former president of Nigeria. He paid debt, he did a lot of things. So he should allow other people to also utilize their own time. He should stop interfering. He should stop intruding into the national matter. He should be a silent person in the political circle.
I doubt if the former president would take your word for it. He will tell you he has the democratic rights to make his opinion known as well. And he has done this for several decades. So let's turn our attention now very quickly, gentlemen, to some of the issues that were raised. The first attribute is what he called track record of ability and performance, followed by vision that is authentic, honest, and realistic, and then character and attributes of a lady and a gentleman who are children of God and obedient to God. And then the fourth one is physical and mental capability with soundness of mind. Now, the former president didn't make much effort to, compare his preferred candidate with other candidates using each of these criteria before drawing conclusion. And I've heard a lot of reactions saying that if you take the first issue, for instance, that Obi's performance in the areas of economic security and infrastructure development is largely an active debate ongoing now as to how well he did as governor compared to the other leading candidates. What are your thoughts about this?
Femi, you have even done more for the presidential candidate than the entire campaign team had done for them in terms of highlighting the critical areas, issues raised, and in terms of how to respond to it. You have done it, you have outlined, you have done a bit of strategic communication for them, what they need to do to highlight, to talk about their candidate. The TVC P that you spoke about, and those are the areas. And instead of begging the question and attacking the personality, look, whoever becomes the president cannot stop Obasanjo from entering Aso Rock. It is the cult of leadership. It belongs to that cult. It is just you and I that are talking our cult in Nigeria. So whoever becomes the president cannot stop Obasanjo from assessing, or will not even, the person will even still seek his advice with respect to this. And I think for the very first time, if you read this letter is a bit toned down compared to other letters of Obasanjo. A bit toned down, and he highlighted those issues. So rather than beg the question, all I've done is, okay, I'm supporting this candidate. Our candidate is far better when it comes to the T element. Our candidate is far better in having a better vision for Nigeria. Our candidate is far better in terms of character, and our candidate is far better in terms of the P element, physical and mental capability. Physical and mental capability. These are the issues they should address. And on the part of the youth, which he raised in the letter, the second stanza of our national anthem said, "O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know." Essentially, the targets of this letter were purely Nigerian youths. And Obasanjo has one vote. And he said, I'm voting for Obi. So like Kazim said, the youth are spread across all the parties. Let this party showcase the youth in their party and let them emphasize all of these elements, other than be attacking the personality. As far as Obasanjo is concerned, he enjoys you abusing him. I'm sure the man is laughing, eating pounded yam and drinking palm wine in Abeokuta Ota, wherever he is.
I'm going to hear Mr. Fegwa's position very shortly, but let's hear from Livinus. Oh, I think we lost that call. He had called in from Rivers. I wanted to find out the update from the Rivers State Governor this morning. Former President.
Well, thank you very much. If you look critically, I actually don't want to be in a position to critique Peter Obi on the basis of the TVCP, which Obasanjo has raised, because there are quite a number of unanswered questions with respect to his governance of Anambra State when he was there. But just to make the point that, just like Johnson said, Obasanjo is enjoying the noise out there. Oftentimes when there is some quiet in the polity, you see him throwing punches, just to make sure that they generate some level of attention. And that is what he has succeeded in doing with this letter. But essentially, if you look at the antecedents of a Tinubu, I will be fooling myself if I would think that an Obasanjo will support a Tinubu who fought him head on politically while he was president and Tinubu was governor to ensure that Lagos remained unbowed. Because at some point, almost all the states of the Southwest were conquered. That is the word of Obasanjo, were conquered by Obasanjo in his second term. And so only Lagos was standing. And from that Lagos point of view, Tinubu was able to still, build his inroad into other states. That today you have about 5 states of the APC in the Southwest, aside from Oyo State, which is PDP. Would always not want people to stand to look at him eyeball to eyeball. And I'm telling you from the point of view of my understanding of his political leadership, my understanding of his person, because I have related quite closely with quite a number of persons who worked with him, and we know how he acts. So when you see this kind of scenario, and you are thinking that Obasanjo will support the Tinubu, you'll just be fooling yourself. Because if Tinubu did not stand up to challenge, Obasanjo at that time, Lagos will have gone the way of PDP. Because if you see the manipulation and all of that, in that 2007, it was heavy. And so that Tinubu is still able, you must give the guy some level of credit that he is politically savvy and understands what it takes to sustain structure, to build structure and sustain structure. So in terms of track record, he's also got very good showing when you look at his performance, and even his rolling plan for the entire Lagos state in the last 22 to 23 years. So
please hold that thought, Mr. Fegwa. Hold it. Let's hear from Matthew from Lagos. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Mr. Femi.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, nice. My name is Martin, as I just said. Based on what you people are discussing, I like the way you bring it up. Like what I said. Please, in front of this, what is happening, you should help us tell our elder statesman, Obasanjo, he should not be doing like this. Everybody will come to him. He should go and learn from Ibrahim Babangida, where Babangida is. Everybody is going to him. He too should know that even if a goat wanted to contest the presidency in this country, the goat will surely come to him. He should not be saying that I endorse this, I endorse that. It's a person, he's there to correct anybody that misbehaves. He's not there to be eating everything up in this country. He's there to correct every abnormality. Whenever they get to presidency, it's always at Abuja meeting with them. He can correct everything, not for him to be saying this, to be saying that I support this, I support that. He should be a neutral man. It's another statement. He should be a neutral man, for God's sake.
Thank you, Matthew, for your contribution. Mr. Afegba, you possibly can't tell an octogenarian to shut up. I mean, he has the right
No, I'm not. You know why they call people octogenarian is because on how to move nations forward. Of course, he had an opportunity to preside over this country. He has his pluses, he has his minuses. So if he were that perfect, he would have been able to take Nigeria to an El Dorado. So what I'm saying in essence is that, you see, I am particular about how much of attention people should give to the campaigns. I don't want this letter to be a distraction to my preferred candidate. I want the Tinubu people, the Tinubu camp to be focused, to be energetically nuanced, to ensure that they are able to go around the country and sell the manifesto to the people. Obasanjo on election day will be in Ota. He probably may not even go to vote. He probably may vote, but all of us were entitled to our votes.
All right.
And in the final analysis, what makes you a winner or a victor is the number of votes you are able to garner as a candidate.
Indeed. So we're running out of time now, Mr. Fegwa, and I need to also quickly hear from Dr. Johnson. Ahmed has called in from Zunguru in Zamfara. Good morning, Ahmed.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead with your contribution.
From Dr. Johnson.
All right. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Based on the letter written by the former president, Mr. Olusegun Obasanjo, as a leader, as a former leader, is not supposed to come outrightly and challenge other political parties. He has to stay as a guideline. So that
all right. I'm afraid we can't go ahead with that conversation. Please turn down the volume of your TV next time you're calling in. So we've gotten an endorsement on the first day of the year. Are you expecting more to come, particularly when you consider the fact that Governor Wike says he will make known his preferred candidate in January?
Well, that will come in no time with respect to Wike's endorsement. That's another issue entirely, whichever way the outcome. The greatest loser of this process, you can mark my word on that, of this process, of this political cycle will be Wike. After May 29, he will be of no relevance with the way he has conducted himself and with respect to how he's been playing his politics. And if you look at it, the antecedent to that fact. But that's another issue for that. You see, in a society whereby traditional rulers are openly supporting candidates, we like begging the issue. And people like to do what we used to do in Southwest politics in the 60s. Shorinumi, Shorowo mi orinumi. You see my hand, you don't know what's going on in my mind. We need leaders to come out to be forthright. Let them state their point, not playing on the intelligence.
By stating their point, you mean support a candidate?
Support a candidate if you want to support a candidate. Don't support a candidate if you don't want to support a candidate. You don't have more than one vote. And if the letter is of no significance, and if Obasanjo is of no significance, why are we discussing the issue? In actual sense, the prominence that has been given to the letter is as a result of the reactions of people that have said Obasanjo is of no significance.
More than the details of the letter itself. Just hold that 30 minutes. Samuel has called in from Abuja. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning, my brother.
Please go ahead with your contribution. You have 1 minute.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
Honestly speaking, you are doing very well, and I'm watching the program. But please, in further programs, if you look at the other gentleman, not Kazim, you will find out that he's making a kind of convincing point. The truth is that if a man is going to work this morning and they encountered a hold-up, and is going to analyze how he went to work and say, pass through this road, we have sympathy for one or two candidates. I knew that the man, the three persons you mentioned, P2P, Atiku, and the Tinubu, I know a capacity to. But the truth is that.
Oh, I think we lost that call. Samuel, are you still there? Samuel, are you still there? I was hoping that you would drive home the point. I really did not make much sense. But we have to go now, so I'm just going to take a concluding comment from each of my guests. Let me begin with Mr. Fegwa in London.
Well, thank you very much. I was waiting for your last caller to conclude so that I will know how to respond to him. But unfortunately, you lost him. But the point must be made that Johnson was making a point that if the letter was not important, why is it being discussed? You can also discuss the nuisance value of the letter. So the fact that Obasanjo, being a former head of state, writing a letter calls for attention. So that's the point. But what position you take in your analysis now depends on your understanding of the issues and whether they will have any meaningful impact in the entire electoral process. But I want to make the final point that nobody should lose sleep about this. He has the right to endorse anybody. But the Tinubu camp will certainly go back to the drawing board and re-energize his campaigns and wait for February 25th and see how much of Obasanjo's letter will speak on that day.
Dr. Johnson, you have just 60 seconds.
Well, rather than adopt a combative approach in their communication campaigns, the people handling candidates and managing the presidency should be strategic. What are the issues that are raised? Address the issue and leave the argument about the personality. There's nothing that anybody can use to change Obasanjo. If you know his antecedent, and if you know his tribe, and if you know his ethnicity, you understand that. He's a woman, and a woman will always give expression to his own opinion. And we need more leaders like that in Nigeria, other than be playing to the gallery, for them to come out in the open. And if you are using Babangida as a yardstick now, after truncating June 12th, then anybody can become a saint in Nigerian politics at any point in
Dr. Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer, Nigeria Institute of Journalism, thank you for your contribution.
It's a pleasure to be
Kazeem Afegwa, former Information Commissioner at Edo State. Gentlemen, thank you so much for talking to us.
Tell Johnson to invite his presidential spokesman for refresher course at NIG.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your contribution. That's our show today. I am Nifemi Ogutoye. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Good morning, everyone.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour where the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking
news. It's not your regular show. Is an online interactive session where we share my views on the everyday issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. I am passionate about our country. I choose to support any conversation geared towards building a better Nigeria. I am Babajide Kolaji Otitoju. Join me every Saturday on TVC News YouTube channel as I discuss Nigeria and the world at large on the show Issues with Jide.
Monkeypox is caused by a virus of same name that is closely related to now eradicated smallpox. The likely symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, rash lymph nodes through close contact with an infected person and also through physical contact with an infected animal. To get monkeypox treatment, you need to see a physician. Here are the steps to protect yourself from monkeypox virus. Step 1. Avoid close contact with suspected or confirmed monkeypox cases. Step 2. Avoid physical touch with animals who could be infected. Step 3. Frequently clean and disinfect environments that could have been contaminated. We all need to join hands together to protect ourselves from this virus. This campaign is brought to you by TVC Communication.
The Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism confers on Stella Dane Jacob, Director of News at TVC News, a lifetime award for journalistic excellence for a lifelong contribution